Hi, welcome again to The Way I Do It. My name is Chris if you haven't been here before. I'm in Jamestown, New York. And today I'm going to be replacing my submersible water pump and my pressure tank. Now it's August 21st and I don't really have a problem with my pump, but it's a good time to do it. Uh, what really drove me to do it is I have had a problem with my pressure tanks become waterlogged. Now, when a pressure tank is waterlogged, that means basically if you check the Schrader valve at the top, water will squirt out when you depress the Schrader valve. Now, another thing when they're waterlogged is every time your pump comes on, or every time you draw water, your pump is going to come on because there's no reserve there. So mine have been pressure waterlogged for a while, and they're going to cause wear on the pump by coming on every time. In the past, I've only done a few pumps, and when I replaced them, it always ended up being like a snowstorm in October. So it's not so much fun to do that, so I thought now would be a good time to do them both. And you can see here, I've got a flex-Lite fiberglass tank I'm putting in. I got this at an auction, which was a really great deal. Well, maybe not so great. It was 300 bucks for this 55-gallon flex-Lite. Now, I believe that's like a $600 tank. You can buy a steel tank at, say, Tractor Supply or even a plumbing supplier, a smaller one for $350. But I'm hoping the flex-Lite fiberglass tank is got a better bladder and more longevity. The other thing I got was a Grundfos water pump. Now, it's a half-horse water pump, and luckily, I believe it's sized perfectly for my well. I bought it again at auction for $140 for a brand new Grundfos water pump. This is, again, August of 2021, so I think getting that pump at that auction was a fantastic. One other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the pressure. The pressure's been running at 3050. I think it was a 2040 switch, and I had jacked it up to 3050. I'm going to push that switch up a little more. I want to run 4060 on it. And with these additions, it'll probably work out well. So let me show you a couple other things here going on, and then we'll get to it. So in modern times, this is a little unusual. So this is a pit. It's probably about 8 feet deep. It's got a little shelf. This was probably built with this barn in 1947. There was an old barn here, and this barn was built in 1947. So this pit and well originally has a drain out the bottom, of course. We've owned the property for 65 years, never had any trouble. Originally this had a galvanized steel tank, which you had to maintain the airspace in it, and it had a jet pump. So that all got taken out over time. It's had a couple of submersible pumps in here, and these it's got 2 bladder tanks in here right now. My dad moved the pressure switch up near the lid, which again I've only had it ice up once or twice. It does go right down to where the takeoff goes to the pressure tanks. It works fine. It works fine. Yeah, so I'm going to take the stuff out and I'm going to replace it with my other stuff. So let's get going here and see how it goes. I've gathered up tools I think I'll need for this job. First thing of importance is the electrical tester to make sure my power's off. I have a Sawzall to remove the old piping, new rope, my new Milwaukee Impact, a couple of pipe wrenches to tighten the fittings. This is to heat the tubing going in the well. I have a Phillips and flat screwdriver. I have a couple of new clamps. I may reuse the old ones, but I bought these because they're on the shelf and they're all stainless steel. People will say that the clamp will fail. That's because they have a carbon steel driver. The screw needs to be stainless. A lot of them, they just have a stainless strap. So you have to look for, if you can see it, it says all SS. meaning the screw is stainless too. I'll go over this later, but I've got my accessory parts. I've got, I'll touch on this again, I've got new shrink tubing with the wire connectors. Let's get this done. And then I can check the wire to be sure there's no current. Which, okay. In the house and in the property, I've drained down the water supply, and I'll drain it down at the lowest point, which is right here. And you can see I've got a drain out the side of this pit. Like I say, this pit is 1947, so it's pushing 75 years old. And the water's going to drain right out that. So again, we can look at what we've got in here. We've got an old Flowtech. Not sure what the equivalent on that is. And we've got another 42-gallon Flowtech tank. So what my intent is, I'm going to slice it right at this fitting. I'm going to leave this in place. Okay, now if I grab this tank, the thing is full and it's not draining. So that means the bladder is plugging the outlet. This one has got the same deal. So in this case, this is a plastic 1-inch pipe that goes to the well pump. We got these 2 clamps on here, and we have this rope. Okay, so some people support their pump by the pipe only. I've seen that done, but it's always good to have a rope. You never know what's going to happen, and if you drop your pump in the well, I guess your well's all done. So let's go ahead and get this undone. Pulling this right off because I want to look at it. Yep, the clamp says all stainless steel. So, yep, we'll be reusing them necessarily. Okay, we got a hammer. So. I'm going to get the tractor. Okay, so the pump is a sure dry. It's a half horse, just like I'm putting back in. It's rated at 10 gallons per minute, which I believe is what I'm putting back in. Interestingly enough, when I replaced this pump, like I said, it was a snow day in October, but I pulled the pump out and I actually found a broken wire. Although I found a broken wire, I could have just fixed it and put it back in. I thought it's a good time to put a new pump in. On this old pump, I want to show you something that I did. So from Tractor Supply, this is the adapter, 1 inch to 1 inch. That's what was available at the time 10 years ago on that snowy day. But they did not have a brass. You can see the yellow color, this is brass. Looks kind of like the day I brought it in if you scrape off the buildup. This, on the other hand, because I had to go to 1 1/4 inch here, this is carbon steel, probably galvanized. Look at this section. So another quick story I'll tell right now. I put a pump in another place I lived about 15 years ago. Again, on a snowy October, spring day, it was snow on the ground. So I didn't go to a pump place to buy it, I bought it locally. Well, the thing finally gave up the ghost and failed less than a year ago. My daughter was living there. So we went to pull the pump out, and all that came out was a pump, no motor. Motor's in the hole. It had come apart in this area somehow. Destroyed, whether it was bolts, could have been one of these with the rust, whatever the rust is, but the thing came apart. So the motor is still down the hole. So we're like, man, what do we do now? No well driller is going to want to retrieve a motor out of a hole. I just don't know what we're going to do. So we ran a line down the hole, and we found we had a decent amount of water column in that hole. So what we chose to do is just drop a new pump on top of the old one. On top of that, I'll leave the motor in the bottom of the hole and let it go. So yeah, so a couple of things to consider. Now, looking at this Grundfos, where this one has this plastic shit going on here. I assume that's plastic, maybe it's some other metal. Can't really tell. No, it's plastic. So this Grundfos is stainless. That thing is all stainless construction, so you're not going to have separation of the motor from the pump. So yeah, there's a hurrah for Grundfos. See if we can get a look at it in the sunlight. I guess that's a Grundfos check valve in there of some sort. It appears to maybe, I don't know, tell me. It's metal. So, yeah. The chickens were getting a little hungry. I had to stop and give them some cracked corn. This here is Gertrude. She gets a little edgy when she doesn't get her cracked corn. General Franco just gets mean. That's General Franco. Goliath, he's a little imposing, but he's a good guy. And then there's poor Patrick. General Franco doesn't like Patrick, so Patrick just hangs off to the side. He'll come and clean up later. I'm going to seal the threads with Rector Seal, number 5. It's a soft seal, slow dry, big name product. I like to start away from the thread a little bit when I put this on. Now the fact that there's no flats on here to grasp it with a pipe wrench tells me they don't want it that tight. It's going into a stamped piece of stainless, so they're not going to want it that tight. So just tighten it as much as you can. Now we're ready to put this bad boy in. I'm back now. It's time to start putting the pump back. We've got all this back. I'm going to reuse the old rope. I did buy this new rope, which I probably should use, but I'm not. And we're going to drop that back. Maybe we can take a closer look. These were connectors that you would crimp through the exterior and then heat shrink them. So you can see there's a little mark where I crimped it. But on this side, the crimping tool I used bit through it. So that was a crack. It opened right up to the power. That was one leg, and this is the other leg. So both these legs had power. So that means when when the pump was in operation, These legs were actually through the water, they were communicating with each other. So, yeah, that's not quite efficient. So, yeah, as a matter of curiosity, I tied this piece of concrete to this rope and dropped it in the well and found out the water level is at 29 feet below the top of the casing. The pump sits 84 feet below the top of the casing, which would be what, 55, right? 54, 56, 84, whatever. So the math is a 6-inch well by 55 feet is how much water's in there in reserve. So probably kind of slow in water production because we've run it dry before. So, but there's always water there. So yeah, I didn't have enough length on the rope to go to the full depth of the well. Not sure how far below the pump it's going to be. We got to get this back together. Okay, there's a little bit of gap through this rope here, so whenever you open up a well, it's a good idea to sanitize it. Now, that's a whole other video, and I think it takes a couple of gallons, but whatever we can get down there is good.
So I just dropped the 55-gallon equivalent tank in here, and it takes up a little bit of room here, so it's good. It fit. I've got it on cinder blocks, no particular reason, but it just is how we do it. So I just have to hook up my simple plumbing here, clean this up a little bit. One thing to add, and then they're wiring, and we'll be good to go. Okay, we got that in. Lines up okay. This is all in. Okay. Now, let's check the air pressure, if I can get to it with this gauge. Okay, the air pressure is at 48. I'm going to make this, what I say, 40-60. So we're going to want 38 in here, right? Okay, so I set the air pressure in this at 40 pounds. I'd like it to end up at 38, but the thing I'm thinking is, this has been sitting out in the sun all day. It's cold at the touch right now in here, but the air inside might be a little warm still, and it's a lot of air. You know, it's a big volume tank. So when that 60-degree water hits it, it's going to cool down. So to get it 2 pounds below our cut-in pressure, I think 40 is a good number to pick right now.
yeah, so that worked out good. A new pressure tank and a new well pump. I ended up adding a new pressure gauge and a new switch. The switch having the frequent contact from the waterlogged tanks probably needed to be replaced. It was rusty anyhow, so it was a good time to do it. Pretty happy with the result. Like I said, I've got $300 in the tank, $140 in the pump, so there's $440, and probably in fittings and tape and whatnot another $30. So that's $470 doing it this way with auction stuff, and I don't think you're going to touch that. You're probably looking at a $2,000 job from a water company here. So let's get this cleaned up, and thanks for watching. That's the way I do it. One more thing. If you want to know what's inside that bladder tank, let's take a quick look here. Tag says caution before removing nuts and cover, take all the air pressure out. Okay. So, yeah, it is a sizable bladder in there, which I guess is okay. I was afraid it was going to be like a blow-up mattress type thing. But, yeah, so you can see the steel tank being in that pit. This one, it's got some surface rust on it there. So that bladder failed. Hopefully the fiberglass tank has a better bladder and will have more longevity. If not, for the price I paid, it's the same thing as one of these. So again, thanks for watching, and that's the way I do it.